Hi, eighth grade students and parents. This is kind of an intro to the modules and the lessons. Hopefully, this video will be quick so that you can get started on the lessons more in depth. But this is just kind of a quick run through of what each lesson will look like. So, this first part is module specific, this first page. At the beginning of each module, they'll have an activity where it shows here, like this treasure hunt. And that's something that is optional, but it's a fun thing to do usually, and it gets you into the idea of the module and what's going to be happening. This next page, the Are You Ready? This is a pretty important thing to do each time you have a new module because it talks about, or it gives you practice with prior concepts that you'll need for the module that's coming up. So it's always a good idea to do that. These next couple of pages, the first thing that you'll see in each lesson, individual lesson, is this I can statement, and it's going to tell you what you should be learning. It's kind of the objective for the lesson. The Spark Your Learning is just a really fun activity each time that is specific to that concept for that lesson. So that's a good thing to do and work on together, parent, student. The next section is Build Understanding, and that is for you to work on together as a teacher and student. And it's teacher directed, so it's something that there's a lot of discussion, a lot of conversation. They'll usually have any new vocabulary in a little yellow box like that, and then here you'll see materials that you need for the lesson. So for this one, for example, you need a protractor and a ruler and a pencil. And so those things will be helpful as you're going through the lesson. The one thing that they don't, for some reason, in this particular lesson, lesson one, there is usually right after the Build Understanding, there is a Step It Out section, but maybe because you'll see in the next couple of slides that the Build Understanding for this lesson is pretty lengthy, so they may have skipped the Step It Out part for this one. So these two pages are just a continuation for this lesson of the Build Understanding, and so that's, you can see that it's pretty lengthy. Even though there are only 3 questions or 3 parts, there are different subparts for each one. And then there will always be a Check Understanding after the Build Understanding and Step It Out. The Check Understanding is for the student to do on their own to see how well they understood the concept that was being taught. If you do well on the Check Understanding, then you can go ahead and go on to the On Your Own. If you don't feel like you understood and you don't do well on the Check Understanding, then go back to the Build Understanding and Step It Out portions and review what you have gone over. Even though it might seem tedious, it's a good idea to make sure that you really have a solid understanding each time. And then here, once you have done the Check Understanding and you feel pretty confident about how you're doing, you can do the On Your Own questions, and this is just 2 different pages of some questions that are related to what you just covered in the Build Understanding and Step It Out. This next part is more practice and homework. So this is similar to the On Your Own that you just did. You don't have to do this, but just for more practice, you can if you'd like to. And then on the back side of the more practice homework is always some test prep. And these are just practice questions that are similar to standardized testing questions that you'll see throughout your educational career. And they're a good idea to practice those. And there always is some spiral review at the bottom, and that's good. Also, it just continually throughout the year, you'll see these review questions that help you just review concepts that you've already covered. The other thing, the last thing I want to mention is if you go to our TCA website, there's a longer video that Andrew Shields has done. So if you go to that website, and that is actually on Schoology at the beginning of each unit, there's a link to that website, the math website. And if you go there, the first bar you can click on is navigating all the pieces, and that is specific to Into Math as well. That'll really help with just kind of figuring out what's there. There's so much available. It can be a little overwhelming, but don't get bogged down and watch these couple videos at first to see what you need to do, what's required, what's optional, and it's always best to just customize it to your student and what you need at the time. So I hope this helps, and we'll get started with lesson one. This is the lesson, but we'll go through it a little bit more in depth.